Hey guys, I'm Chris. Welcome back to Midwest Long Range. We got some really cool stuff to show you today. As you can tell, we brought out all kinds of hardware for today's video. Stick with me, I'll tell you what we got going on. Alright guys, today we're going to do something a little bit different. I want to look at precision rimfire from a different perspective. Let's look at it as an evolution, right? Most of us have where we started and more or less where we've ended. But there's a lot of steps in between, a lot of decisions that's been made as we went down the path to this kind of precision rimfire rabbit hole, I like to call it. And we are way down the rabbit hole right now, trust me, okay? But we all had to start somewhere. So let's, I don't have the actual rifle I started precision rimfire with, but I have one that's very similar to it. Let's kind of take a look at these in progression. I'll go through more or less my thoughts as I progressed down the road to where my final build is today. So let's start with the first one on the list. Here we go. All right guys, first one up on the list for today is the CZ455. This is not the rifle I started precision rimfire with. I actually started with a Ruger American Target, bolt action, magazine fed, bull barrel. I sold that gun quite some time ago. Good thing is the gentleman who bought it still shoots precision rimfire with us, and you know, the gun's still chugging right along. If you go back in my earlier videos, I might even throw up like the old thumbnail or something right here, and you can kind of go back and check that rifle out. But what I do have is this CZ455. This is the Varmint edition, wood stock. This is very indicative of where most people start out in their journey along this whole precision rimfire craziness, right? And for most people, when they first hear about the sport, what they have is maybe a bull barrel varmint rifle that you've been shooting groups with, or squirrel hunting, or just whatever, pick your poison, right? Maybe a little bit of bench rest or silhouette here and there. And just like everybody else, I had a second focal plane scope. This one's outfitted with a Vortex Viper, 6.5 to 20. One of the old first gens with cap turrets, right? You know, we go way back, right? So when the sport comes along, I got to kind of thinking about it. I'm like, well, what could I do to get in this sport and not spend a ton of money, right? That's kind of the next step in the evolution. You take this, maybe you change your scope out to a front focal plane right off the bat, and you go shoot a match with this rifle. I did that with the Ruger. Everything went really well. The rifle performed well that day. Actually, I think I only shot one match with it. Finished in the top 10 that day. First time ever out. But that match showed me where I wanted to go. Now, we're going to use the DIY CZ as kind of the next step of that iteration before we move on. So first up, we got the CZ455 with a Vortex Viper, second focal plane. This is as bone stock as it gets. There have been no upgrades to this rifle in the trigger or the way it came from the factory in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to shoot 3 5-shot groups down here at 50 yards, and we'll get a quick understanding of kind of where the baseline is and what this rifle is capable of at that distance. That's kind of typical zero distance for our 22s. That was not an impressive group. Make sure, here you got 5 left. If not, we'll just shoot the rest of them at the last target. There we go. That's our CZ455. I think it shot pretty well. Our first group was pretty atrocious, but the next two weren't god awful. The second one was really good, and I've seen a lot of that out of this little gun. I mean, the test is what it is. It just shows, you know, you can one second you can shoot a really good group, and the next with very little changes, maybe the wind gusts just a little bit. Maybe as a shooter, maybe I'm not as stable as I wish I was, but I shoot from this platform right here a lot, and I'm very accustomed to it, so I'm not so sure that those were me. Like I said, we are fighting thunderstorms today, so bear with us. We're gonna get the DIY CZ up here next. Same test, here we go. All right, guys, this is a rifle that everybody on the channel, if you've been watching any of my prior videos, you've probably seen the DIY CZ. This is the next logical step from, okay, I had my, whatever my 22 was at home, I went and shot a match, I really liked it, now I want to go in and I want to get something that's going to help me be competitive, right? And this is essentially what this rifle would be. This is a very common platform that people use to make that next step. This is the CZ457 Pro Varmint, okay? From there, you know, generally you get the bare rifle. It already shoots pretty good. I've never seen a CZ that didn't, to be honest with you. You know, we've got the Area 419 30 MOA base with the Arkin SH4 Gen 2. This is a great scope for the money. This is a great way to get into a front focal plane optic with zero stop turret. Right there, you see, boom, stops at zero. You get the kit with it and everything, with the level, rings, throw lever. Very budget friendly. I think right now on their website they're like 460 bucks, okay? Now, making that initial leap from just whatever you had at the house to your next rifle, this could seem like a very costly investment, right? I'm telling you, spend the money on the glass, save the money on the rifle. It's gonna, you're just gonna benefit from that all day long. Now moving on, this gun does have a Yodave trigger spring. So generally those are like your first things, right? Let's get a trigger spring in it. Let's get a good optic and a rail. And then we're ready to go. Get some kind of cheek riser back here. Right now I still just have the foam pad with the pouch wrapped over it. Most folks, when they first start out, they either put a short Arca rail or a small Picatinny rail for their bipod, or even use a sling mounted, like a sling stud mounted bipod, sorry, like a Caldwell or a Harris or something, you know, that you may have had laying around. Now, this rifle will carry you well up into open class. This rifle has pillars in the stock, the action's been bedded, barrel's been free floated, we've got the Anarchy Arms bottom metal on it, it's got a weighted Arca rail system. So this is about as far as you can push a base class rifle, depending on your club series, or if you're in the PRS or the NRL, they'll have different MSRP caps, right? But for the last couple of years, the CZ457 Pro Varmint has been one of the staples of that class, along with the, you know, the Ruger Precision Rimfire. I do have one of those also. It's not here on the table with me today. But, so, you know, this is that next step. This rifle will last you a long, long time, especially with the amount of pre-fit barrels that are out there in the aftermarket triggers like the Timony. We will be doing something along those lines coming up here in the near future. But, you know, this is that next step from a quote-unquote varmint rifle, hunting rifle, to competition. All right, so the wind is picking up on us. Hopefully we can get this deal done. But we got the DIY CZ now. We're gonna shoot our 3 5-shot groups. You can probably see the target down there moving around pretty good. So, you know, but one of those deals, we don't get to shoot matches on days that are perfect usually, so you got to deal with what we got. Oh, that was way high. Wow, this thing's all over the place. That is not typical out of this rifle. I'm gonna do something I don't usually do. I'm gonna break the video for just a minute, and I'm afraid we may have a carbon ring in the barrel. So I'm gonna handle this real quick and I'll be right back. We got the chamber cleaned up. It looks like it's shooting like it's supposed to. I'm not gonna take that first group away. We're just gonna shoot our next two. That gives you an idea why we talk about carbon ring also. If I don't mess up and just make it shoot bad again, so I doubt it though.
Much better than last time.
Honestly, that gun's probably still fouling in just a little bit, but dramatic improvement from that very first group. There was definitely a carbon ring in the chamber. I did verify it with my bore scope. It was looking pretty bad, kind of like stalactites hanging down in there. Now, with all that being said, we'll jump over to the Bagara, get all that done, and onward from there. So, kind of the next iteration, so to speak, from taking a factory rifle or factory, a complete rifle like the Pro Varmint to its next iteration would be essentially for a shooter like myself or many others who do compete in center fire, either seriously or just recreationally on occasion. And they want the opportunity to have similar platforms. They may have a lot of money invested in, components, chassis, stocks, triggers, all kinds of stuff. Well, when you get to that level, and really, from the CZ to where we're going, they could almost be interchangeable. You have to make these decisions for yourself, right? But, so for that next step, one extremely popular option today, I've run one for a while, is the Bagara B14R. The B14R is on a 700 footprint and utilizes a lot of Remington 700 components, such as the trigger and scope rails. So the aftermarket is huge. This is an MDT XRS chassis. Does have the enclosed 4N, integrated ARCA, all that stuff. I run a Timony hit trigger in this gun, identical to what's in all of my center fire guns and in my other guns sitting over here to the side. So, these are components I'm very used to. My length of pull, my chassis and stock options. If I wanted to have two identical setups as far as trigger, chassis, length of pull, all the way up through my optics and what have you, I could get the same position on this rifle as I did a center fire rifle. I was one of those guys, I had a lot of Remington 700 stuff sitting around as far as stocks, chassis, triggers, etc. Scope bases. It made a lot of sense for me to go that route. With that being said, the sky's really the limit with that platform. There's guys out there like Kenny at DP Gunworks. He can rebarrel the Bagara for you. There's pre-fit options out there as well from like IBI and companies like, I think they may be the only company, but you know, you can put a tuner on it. There's a lot you can do with this package. And this, in a lot of cases, this might be where a lot of shooters would probably stop. This may be enough for what they're doing. You look at guys like Darren B, he's got a great YouTube channel. If you're into precision rimfire and Bagara, you probably ought to go check him out. Same thing on the CZs from before. The CZ man is, Josh over at Pursuit of Accuracy. Those guys are very specialized in that. I try to keep a little bit of everything. I'm not, one thing is not really my speed, except for maybe the one coming up next. So, like I said, this is the Bagara Timony MDT XRS. I've got the Contessa QD one-piece precision mount with a ride-on 7 Conquer 3-24 by 56 with the Odin reticle in this. Again, 0 stop. This one has a little bit better glass quality than say the Arkin. This is a different price point. This is another tier. All Japanese glass, all that kind of good stuff. Of course, now, my AccuTag bipods, I've had them for a long time. I had them kind of coming into precision rimfire. So a lot of guys will bring components over from their centerfire rifles to utilize on these rigs here. Now we've got the Bagara B14R in the MDT XRS with the ride-on 7 Conquer 3-24 by 56. So this is a setup I ran in matches for a while. It did me pretty well. So let's see what it's doing at 50 yards. All right, already you can kind of see a difference in our group size. Keep going. All right, there's our second group. Looking pretty good. Let's go down to our third one. Keep it going. Well, this is a problem I've seen before. So I'm having an issue. There it goes. And it is giving me that particular problem. That particular problem caused me to break a bolt handle once upon a time during a match. So imagine how much, how happy I was about that. There it is, 5 shots with the Bagara, or well, 15, sorry. There it is, 15 shots with the Bagara. Groups are looking pretty good. With a little bit of extra work, torque tests, etc. I think I could improve this gun even a little bit more, but that's our baseline for today. Hang on, we'll get the Voodoo up here. We'll see what it can do. All right, so when you've either hit a wall or you decide that you want to go all out on a 22 for whatever reason, there's a few ways you can go. There are custom actions out there, Voodoo, Rimex, etc. The path I chose, obviously, is the Voodoo 360. I began with a barreled action from them with a 22-inch Bartlein barrel. And then just for my own needs, wants, some of the things I wanted to test and to be able to achieve in balance and replicating my PRS rifle, I wanted a different barrel. So here today on the bench, we have the Voodoo 360 with a Krieger 24-inch M24 taper that Kenny over at Desert Precision Gunworks put on for me. This gun is killer. Usually, you've seen it on the channel before, obviously, it usually sits in a Foundation MG2. For Rimfire, I felt like I was having a hard time with balance. I had achieved it with the 360 Precision weighted Arca rail system and internal weights and all that. We did get up to a 20-pound rifle. I want to go back. I want to try lightening this up, making it feel essentially more like my centerfire rifle in terms of balance. And I've never had a Manners, so I decided I want to try one. So I've got a Manners PRS 1 with the mini chassis mounted up on this rig right here. Just came in the other day. A good friend of mine sold this to me. Really appreciate him helping me out on that deal. And then, you know, to be honest, I haven't got a lot of testing done with this. We just mounted it up and we're making videos today because it's been raining and storming and I got to get some stuff done. But in this build again, Timony hit trigger. We got an Area 419 Arca rail on it. Hawkins Precision one-piece mount. This thing is incredible. And I'm running a Night Force ATACR 7-35 by 56 on this setup. This is, you know, for me, this is essentially like the pinnacle of my 22 journey, right? You've kind of seen where we started and where we've went. You've seen a lot of testing on the channel with this rifle. You know, the Bagara always did me really well. We got to where we were shooting less, you know, 100-yard and in type matches, and a lot more matches that went out to 300-400 yards. With that, I decided that it was in my best interest, at least for the type of shooting that I wanted to do personally, that I wanted to go with one of these custom rifles. It was worth it to me. Will it be to you? Have no idea. That's totally dependent on what you want to do as a shooter. All right, so we got the Voodoo 360 up here with the Krieger barrel, Night Force optic, Manners stock. Again, Timony trigger on this gun. I will say I did just get this chassis. I have a new mag latch. I got to call Manners and get a new mag latch. It's a little short, but that's just part of fitting it to a new stock. So here we go. First group, moving on to the next one.
the aluminum mag in it, see how that goes. Could get a little bit of play.
Oh, got a flyer. All right, well, there it is. So, just kind of looking at it for myself, without going down there and measuring them just yet. I'm sure I can probably put that up here somewhere. But the story is pretty plain when you move across the four guns, right? The capability, the accuracy, it improves as you work your way down the line. The CZ and the Bagara, I'm not trying to start an argument there by any means. I've seen a bunch of CZs shoot just as good, if not a lot better than Bagaras, and vice versa. I will say that at 100 yards, my Bagara has had consistency issues that my CZ does not seem to have. But I just got tired of dealing with all of that, and I had a custom gun built. So that's just why I did what I did. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate y'all hanging out with us, working our way from entry level all the way up to full custom right here. So if you like it, like the video, share it, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. I don't say it very often, but I really do appreciate all the support you guys give us. Stay safe, keep shooting. We'll see you next time right here on Midwest Long Range. See ya.